Hello, everyone, and welcome to Empowering the Conscious Business Evolution Talk with me, Antonina Manev, for some fresh, thought-provoking and liberating conversations about inspiring the sparks of innovation and evolution, and growing a bigger and a wider world of ethically successful and consciously evolving business environment. For those who tune in for the first time, I'm the founder of Visions Inspire Strategic Business Growth Consultancy. As a business strategist, my focus is on turning visions into profitable businesses, be it for startups or established businesses. So in my area of work, evolving the business consciousness is a key element. You can find out more about my inspiring work by visiting the website www.visionsinspire.com. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel or like my Facebook page or connect on LinkedIn with me. Business owners work with me, looking to increase usually their business cash flow and profits and create a secure financial future so they fully enjoy a greater lifestyle and balance. However, along the way, the main obstacle appears to be the uncomfortable mindset of conformity, which accepts limitations in business making and development, or even growing in order to fit in an old custom conventional framework of business making that holds them back, and all that at the expense of their true identity. But how we even start to break up these frames? Well, we'll have to try. In my interviews, video or audio, I will be introducing you to exceptional business leaders, owners, and creators who have reached great success in what they do, not because they worked hard to fit in, but by challenging the status quo and constantly innovating themselves and their businesses, by searching back to their authentic roots to follow the person-business environment connection, and by taking approaches of consciously evolving to align with a higher social and earth value through their creativity, identity, and co-creative forward thinking. So be prepared, all my guests have left valuable tips and inspirational words of wisdom for you to take and do your best to outshine the conventional and grow yourself and business aligned with higher values. All their interviews are playing on the Visions Inspire YouTube podcast channel. Happy listening and happy learning and growing. Oh gosh, we're live! Welcome! Yay!
Yeah, we are!
Yeah! Welcome everyone, and welcome to another show of Empowering the Conscious Business Evolution. And today my guest is Maggie Sarfo from Maris Consult. Yay!
Hello! Welcome everyone. I'm very excited to be here today.
Thank you for coming in. Right, I know you're rushing. You told me you're rushing for a meeting with a client. So let's talk about you a little bit. I read a lot, but I will leave you to tell me and the listeners about how did you get from just Maggie, the girl Maggie, to Maris Consult, Business and Personal Growth. How did that happen?
Well, so for me, I've always known that I will set up my business, and I always knew that it would be a form of a consulting firm, although I had a strong feeling that it would also be connected to developing people. But funny enough, in my career, my roles, even though I trained, so I've got an MBA as well as a CIPD qualification, which is HR qualification for developing people. Every time I looked for opportunities to develop people, somehow it didn't come through. But then my other passion was really this fascination about how do some businesses make profit and why do others don't? And, so I spent about 15 years moving from one big company to a small one, back to a big company to a small one, and doing business growth consulting and also taking on sales roles and sales leadership roles. And so I guess for me, that developing people aspect came in the roles as I got the opportunity to lead teams. And then about 5 years ago, towards the end of 2016, I felt very strongly, actually going back 2 years before then, I set up the business and I built a website. But I wasn't brave enough to leave my corporate role because the money was good. You know what I'm talking about.
I know, because we talked about it, and I was just the same. And apparently at the same time, you and I did similar things.
Yeah,
so holding on to the corporate.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, and one of the pushes for me, I guess, was increasingly I was realizing that the way I needed to treat my clients wasn't necessarily always possible within the confines of the organizations I was working with. But then I knew that if I was to step out, I would make greater impact in terms of, again, doing what I love best in terms of providing advice, helping people more with their business growth, because that's where my strongest forte was at that time. But then as soon as I left and started my business and I started having clients, a lot of the clients who were majority kind of leaders in businesses started to let me be aware that they needed me to be something else. So they didn't want me to just do the advisory or the consulting around business growth. They wanted me to also wear the hat of kind of a personal development or leadership mentor, that kind of thing, executive mentor. So then the business naturally evolved to both combining business growth and personal growth. It so happened that at that time, I have always been a very big personal development person. So the likes of Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, all of those, the guy who wrote The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, all of those. So for me, it was natural for me to do that, but I had what people call an awakening at some point as well, where I got a very strong connection to what people call the what is called in Sanskrit the Akashic Records, which is information about us as individual souls from the time we come into being until the time we go back, or we cease to exist. But there's also the Universal Akashic Records, which is information about everything that is. So it became apparent to me, I was guided to really understand that incorporating the purpose aspect into the work that I was doing, both with businesses and individuals, was a natural kind of progression of where I was going, because the clients were also asking for it. And so that's how the business evolved. And so I do both business growth and personal growth. I also have individual clients who work with me on just purely purpose development, their own personal growth, and also kind of, I guess, support on their own evolutionary journey. So that's me.
So that's how Maggie became Maggie Sarfo, the Paris Consult. Beautifully.
Yeah. So that's how Mary's Consult is actually a combination of the word Meg, because a lot of people give me pet names. So even though my original name is Margaret, and at home I used to be called Maggie all the time, which is the name that I adopted as soon as I switched on to become kind of self-employed. But then throughout my career and with my friends, they choose to call me what they want. So people call me Maggie or Meg or Margot or Margarita. So I accept all the names. And so Mary's Consult is a combination of Meg, which is one of my pet names that I respond to, and then resource, because I always felt that I was a resource to other people through the advisory and the mentoring and the consulting work that I do. So Mary's Consult is a combination of Meg and resource.
That's beautiful, because I did wonder. I did wonder.
Mm-hmm.
I did
Mm-hmm.
wonder how you came up. I did try to make a connection with your name, but that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's not very obvious.
No, but then when people read Visions Inspired, I think glass dealing with glasses, spectacles, and until they see, okay, Visions Inspired. Now going back a little bit to the Akashic Records, my question is actually linked to that one. Why do you do what you do? Why? And of course, the why, I think it always satisfies the egoistic need for us. So why do you do what you do?
So for me, there is a deep fulfillment when I see the impact of an advice that I gave to someone, or the impact of the work I'm doing with someone. And so that fulfillment gives me the joy, because I know that I have been able to do one of the things that come very natural to me, and also impact someone else's life with it. I find it very easy to give advice when asked, right from an early age, and some of my friends draw my attention to it, because I was just plowing away, very oblivious of what's happening. But I used to have friends who were much older than me. Say, like, I will be 10 years, 12 years now. I have a friend who is 18 years, and I'm walking with them and chatting with them, and people will go, how come your friends are so older than you? And I didn't even see it that way. I had no idea that my friends were that older than me. But now, as people ask me a lot of these questions in interviews and stuff, what I'm realizing was these people, because what was happening is they will say something to me, or they will talk to me about a problem, and I will say something, and they go, oh, that's it. That's the answer I was looking for. Thank you. Or weeks later, they will come back and say, that thing you said about blah, blah, blah. And usually I wouldn't remember. I was like, yeah. And they go, that was the answer I needed. My problem was solved. And I had no idea. But I think that naturally it's easy for me to kind of see beyond surface level for, what people are, or maybe find an answer for someone. And so when I was growing up, and I was kind of this entrepreneurial person who will, tell some parents, I'll teach your kids if you pay me some money, and, all of that. And, when I go to, at that time, I used to go to church, and I'll gather, the children and take them out of the adult room, and we'll just create our own learning opportunity together, that kind of thing. And so I think that naturally it's easy for me to give advice. And so when I finished uni and people said to me, well, you could do a role that, pays you, or when I discovered that you can actually get paid for giving advice, I thought that was a no-brainer. I thought, why else would I do anything? I just say something and people think I've said something profound and they'll pay me money for it. I'm just doing that because it's the aspect of the work that I don't feel like I'm racking my brains or doing anything strenuous, and I get paid for it and live the life I want. So that's what I do, But as I said, the cherry on the top is not just doing what I do and receiving, money for it or some kind of exchange and value for it, but is the impact, that people say the work I do have on their lives or on their businesses or whatever it is that we're working on.
That's beautiful, Maggie.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. And as long as you give the advice only when you're asked to give it,
That's the thing.
That's the thing. It took me such a long time to learn to shut up and not just give it away, because people say, and I just say, okay, here is what you can do, this, and this, without being asked. Until friends of mine, they told me, actually, you always give your advice. We don't want it yet.
Yeah. Right. No, that becomes interfering. Yeah. No, you only.
Yeah, and then
give it when
late in life, I learned to, just let them ask for it, and then you give it. And it's part of the. of our job. So
Yeah.
I know things weren't very smooth for you on your
Mm,
journey where you are.
mm.
So would you like to share some of the challenges on your journey to finding and establishing your voice in this highly competitive industry?
Mm. So me, and I had to jump my corporate role at a time when, like some people will say, they got paid a big fat bonus or a big fat exit thing, redundancy package. Like I had to jump because I was getting to a stage where everything that I used to do that gave me the results that I needed, and that made me really successful in my corporate world, I realized that at some point they were not working anymore. No matter how hard I tried, they were not working anymore. And I think those were signs that I had outgrown where I was and I needed to get out. And I was resisting it because, again, it was, in a way, it was comfortable and I didn't know what else. Even though I wanted to set up a business, I didn't think it was going to be as rewarding as it was. So, but in the end, I made a jump with just a month's salary, and that was it. And so I went through periods where I have kind of big fear in my stomach in terms of how the mortgage was going to be paid for my next role. What I was really sure of was that I didn't want to go back into another employment. I felt that I just needed to do something that fulfilled my soul because I felt that I was evolving to that level. So when I started, and actually with the last amount of money that I was paid, I actually hired a coach in the US as well. And so that was me done. But I just knew that I needed to build a business that was global by nature. I have had the opportunity to work with people from everywhere in the world, and I really loved that aspect of me. I felt that I really loved just being in the lives, like just interacting with other people from everywhere in the world. So one of the advice that was given by my coach was to go to market through, I guess, blogs and videos, which I didn't like at all because again, my ego was saying, why would you do videos? Why would you put yourself out there? Especially because I also came out and was talking about what I called human-centered selling. So the idea of you connecting more deeply with your client, that had centered connection. I had proved and used that so much in my career, and it was what was giving me the results. For instance, I would use those methodologies with clients, and if they were spending 35K with me within the company, they will start spending 125K within 12 months. So it worked. And so those were some of the blueprints that my experience with the corporate world kind of gifted to me. And so I started my business talking about, I guess, ideas that were not very, very mainstream. People knew it, but it was not always received, the way, because sometimes we look at business, we look at the bottom line, which is just money. And even though I love the bottom line and, I talk about the money, I have also then proven that combining the values and the money and some of the softer things like heart-centered connections and deeper connections with the people we're doing business with actually expanded the amount of bottom line or money that we were receiving. So it was new concepts. And then, of course, there was the Akashic Records thing that was very completely new, especially at that time. It's still a bit new, but a lot of people kind of have heard it now. Although I still talk to a lot of people who haven't, and I explain. So it's kind of educational. So it was tough initially, and then, but I kept looking for opportunities to see where the lowest hanging fruits will be. And I trusted that if I put myself out there, my message will start sticking with the right people, and I will start attracting them. And so, for instance, on the personal growth side, on the purpose development, Akashic Records work, I was drawn to join a group that was set up by an Australian lady. They had about 35 people. It was called Heart-Centered Entrepreneurs, something along those lines. And suddenly they got my message, and so some of my very first initial clients for the Akashic Records work and the purpose development work was from Australia. That's why I kind of used Zoom from the start, because my clients were coming from Australia, and then they were then starting to come from the US, Canada, parts of Europe. Then I started attracting a lot of clients from Egypt, and then my UK client base for the personal growth work started about 2 years ago, which was about 2.5 years into the business, but that started growing very rapidly as well. On the business side, using the same methodology and the same kind of go-to-market strategy, I then started blogging on some of the leadership concepts that I thought held space as we go into a new world. And I attracted people like podcasters who were kind of talking about sales and leadership, but they were from Canada and other places, but they would invite me to go and speak on their podcast. And those who resonate with my message will contact me, and I will start to do some form of work with them. So that's how it grew. So I started building a personal brand from that perspective. And then again, later on, then my UK audience started coming back. I think the shift that I made was unusual for a lot of the network that I had, because they knew me as something else. They knew me as someone who was employed doing this specific thing. And the shift that I made for some people were probably drastic, and they didn't recognize the person I had become. And so for others who didn't have a history of who I was, then they accepted me the way I presented myself at that stage. So I guess that could be one of the reasons. So gradually the business started to grow with the sponsorship of an international crowd, and then it came back to ground and settled back in the UK again. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity.
That's fantastic. So if someone comes to and wants to work with you, how do you work with the business owners and the corporate world? What is your process, basically? Just briefly, so that listeners have an idea what they will go through when they contact you and want to work with you.
Thank you. So just to clarify who I feel are kind of ideal people that get drawn to my work or to work with me. So they are usually entrepreneurs, or they are leaders, either in the B2B or services world, or sometimes in the tech world as well, or they're just individuals. And a lot of those individuals sometimes have a business on the side as well, or they could be employed. Let's talk about the business side in terms of how the process. So they would normally book, well, they might see a document, like I'm a blueprinter, I call myself. So I normally have different types of documents out there. For instance, at the moment, I have an adaptability model, post-COVID, that kind of thing, to help your business shift and survive post-COVID and grow exponentially. So they may download one of those documents, in which case they would be offered an opportunity to have a complimentary strategy review with me if they want. Others may see a post somewhere, or they may contact me or go to my website, and they will be able to book a complimentary strategy review. Within that, whilst they're booking that, they would be prompted to answer a couple of questions, which helps me to prepare for the call, and helps them to prepare as well, I guess. And then during the session, we will go through what a key challenge is that they're looking to resolve. And then I will present them after we will discuss it. We can use it as a problem solving session, a mini one, but we also look at around it. So I ask questions just for me to understand, and for them to get to know me, for me to get to know them, to see if we may be a good fit to work together. And should they decide to, then they will receive a follow-up email with details of what we discussed, a key challenge for them, a possible solution, information about how I work. Now, for some people, they would work with me on a program where they are looking to resolve an issue within a period of 3 months, for instance. Sometimes shorter. If it's shorter, they may come for a 90-minute past session. But majority of my clients would come and work with me on a program where we would look at 8 to 10 sessions, where we're moving the business from one stage to a more desirable stage. And we then, and once they've agreed that they want to come on board and work with me, they have a tailored engagement plan with what we're going to be working on. I also make sure that I tell them it's not set in stone and is a guide based on the challenges you have now. But say most of the time, halfway through, something really massive may happen, in which case we will adapt and change and do what is important for you. For instance, someone approaches you, they want you to, supply to them something, or a good opportunity comes up. We will, turn it around and focus our attention on writing that big proposal or whatever for you to get there. An example is one of my entrepreneurial clients. She started working with me on a personal growth level. And then at the start of this year, she went, I actually would like to work with you in a business. I haven't done that with anyone before. So we started working together. And then I just noticed right from the onset that the business was yearning to grow, and a part of her was resisting that growth. And so for instance, she was renting one room within a commercial property, but she had so much potential to go bigger because she had clients. She was actually turning them away. And so we said, well, let's release this and let's move on to a stage where you fulfill more and more of your bigger potential. Because, hey, look at it, when you're 60, you don't want to be exchanging your time for the money all the time. You want some money to be coming to you without you, all of that. And before we realized, she was offered an opportunity to actually buy another property which could have 4 rooms for her business. And it was so affordable for her and everything. So we went for that. And now she has recruited 3 associates. She has potential to recruit more. And so she gets a model where the associates that she's recruited into her business now pay her a percentage of the work they're doing, which means that she has a recurring model going on, which frees up her time to then develop herself and her skills and all of that as well. So that's an example. But yeah, so once we agree on what we're going to be working on, then most of them will work with me for that period of 3 months to resolve, and they always get the tangible results they're looking for. We focus on growth mainly. And then most of the time they would say, okay, so after the 3 months, some of them would stay and say, I want to work on something else. I want to work on this. And so we will go on something else and work on that. Sometimes because they have a better handle on the business, we may then extend it to 6 months. So it's the same similar program with a different engagement plan, and they may see me every other week rather than every week, because they know what they're doing and it's easier for them now. And then sometimes after that one, they might say, I want to stay on, but maybe this time once a month. But it's entirely up to them. And others will go, and couple of years later, they may come back and say, now I want to work with you on this. So that's how it works on the business growth side. On the personal growth side, because most of people will come to me and work with me on the Akashic Records side of things, these are 60-minute consultations. So again, they would find me either by downloading a free resource on 5 steps to develop your purpose or something like that, or they would just go on my website and they may see an opportunity to book a complimentary 15-minute conversation to see if we're a good fit to work together. But most people will just book a 1-hour session as well, which is an Akashic Records consultation or a purpose development consultation. Once they do, I send them information on what the Akashic Records are, how to prepare for a session. It essentially means reflecting on your life, looking at any baffling questions that you need answers to, maybe some repeated patterns that you've been trying to resolve that you can't. maybe you feel a sense of stepping into a higher potential version of you, and something seems to be holding you back. All of those. So they write those questions down, but they don't send it to me. And then during the Akashic Records consultation, we do like a mini centering meditation. And after that, we open their records, basically. I open the records by, doing that meditation, the centering meditation visualization exercise, and then using what we call a prayer. So it's an original Mayan prayer that's been translated from hieroglyphics into English. And it's only a couple of sentences. So people call it a sacred code or a prayer. Once that prayer is said 3 times, they will feel that the Akashic Records is open. Sometimes most people will say they feel a very calming energy around them. But if they don't feel anything, that's fine as well. People experience it in different ways. And from there, they start to ask their questions, and then I transition into my conscious channel mode and receive answers for them. But it's very conversational, just like you and me. I don't fall into a trance or anything. And then normally towards the end, then they get really practical suggestions on how to resolve issues, or how to bring in a bigger aspect of themselves, or how to enter the next phase of their growth, all of that. And then normally when we're coming up to the 60-minute mark, I would check to see all their questions have been answered. And if so, we would close the records with the intention for the healing energy to carry on. And then normally if they need some more help in terms of integrating the information they've received into day-to-day living, then they could book a 3-part mentoring session with me, program with me, where we have 3 sessions. The first session is about integrating the information from the records. That could be maybe some contracts. So contracts need to be cancelled, or particular, designing of their next phase of life, or anything that was suggested to them basically during the session. The second part is a healing program. I call it the Create Balance Healing Program, which is about balancing, aligning, and healing them emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, as well as looking at a 12th chakra healing and activation program, which enables them to become more and more of their truer selves, devoid of the conditioning, things like that. And then the final is kind of a review and a planning for the future as well.
That's beautiful. Gosh. Yes. So the message to everyone would be, just give it a go. Just give it a go. One area or the other area, the business growth or the personal growth. Just give it a go. You never know.
Yeah.
So be brave. So I know you mentioned earlier about the UK kind of market for what you do, that it started opening up more and more over the past few years, which I have noticed as well, because my clients, just like you, started from Australia, the States, and at the time I found a huge difference between the mentality of one culture, another culture, and the UK compared to the UK. So it was a very slow burner, the UK audience or market, whichever way you prefer. So what has changed? What do you think has changed over the past few years that requires for the corporate and the personal businesses and the people to need that?
I think
now the key is in the need, not want, the need.
I think overall there is a big kind of energetic or vibrational shift. A lot of people, I think, so I'll start here. I think the vibration of our planet in general is becoming higher. And so a lot of people are awakening from denser states of consciousness to a more awakened state of consciousness. And that is happening to everybody. So it's happening to people in the corporate world, or people in the entrepreneurial world, or just individuals in general, because, I think people are more awakened now compared to previously. And so I think that is one of the reasons why. People are also naturally going more deeper inside of themselves to find solutions to challenges rather than thinking that the answer lies outside of themselves. And for instance, if we look at the pandemic, for instance, then what it has forced a lot of people to do is to go inside. And so because of that, then their souls are searching for more, I guess, more food, to unlock this next piece of themselves that's about to come out. And so I think that is one of the bigger reasons for what is happening. And so I think traditionally maybe the level of consciousness for, say people in Australia were kind of more open to the kind of work that I do. But then I think it's kind of going to all other places as well. That's my personal observation. But I think it's one of the reasons.
I think
so
the
planetary consciousness is getting higher. So there's more collective energy. For instance, you get people talking more about kind of the rise of the divine feminine, for instance, and all of that. So people are awakening to different aspects of themselves, regardless of who they are, where they are, and as they do, and also because the world is becoming more and more of a smaller global village, they are connecting, they're connecting in groups on Facebook, they're finding people somehow to connect with. And I think it helps raise the collective consciousness as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And there is always resistance. There are always people who will resist, but that's why my question contained the word need, because to continue to sustain yourself, to survive, whether in business or personally or in society or in culture, it becomes a need little by little. And that's where my direction is, because that need becomes a must. First, it is a want. It is a want. Then it is a need. Then it is a must. So
absolutely.
You and I and other leaders, in a way, we need to be pushing more and more people around these evolutionary, in a way, steps. How would you describe, I know we're running out of time, we don't have much time left,
we're fine.
how would you describe this is personal, the one thing that sets you apart from all the rest?
So for me, what sets me apart is I feel what I bring to the table is, I'll say unique, and it's a cliche word, I know, but I will support that by telling you the story about how the Akashic Records found me. So for me, as I was going through a somewhat tough and challenging time, but also kind of really knowing that, I was destined for something bigger, one morning as I was coming out of meditation, all I could hear was the word Akasha ringing very loudly in my ears. And I was like, what does that mean? Why would it not stop? And I picked my phone, and everything on my phone is saying 3333. The number of emails is saying 333. It was later that I got to understand that 333 in numerology is the number for the Ascended Masters, which is a higher divine being council that sits within the Akashic Records and also supports our soul's evolution in different ways. So I feel that for me, it's about the journey that I've gone through and how I feel that what I give to people is a natural culmination of my purpose, and B, what I get from that whole experience. So for instance, I was answering the same question for one of my clients from San Antonio. She is an ex-Oracle HR director who's transitioned. And when she asked me, so what makes you different? I was like, well, for me, it's about how my own evolution is able to support me in terms of, becoming the person that I am, but also how I'm able to pass it on to other people in its uniqueness. And so you won't come across many people who have had exactly the same story in terms of me awakening, and having, the Akashic Records ringing in my ear, and also heeding that calling that the Akashic Records was part of the roadmap for my business moving forward. I resisted for a while, and then I went for it. And, every single day I'm saying to myself, there is nothing else that I'll do that's better than this. But who knows what the future holds? I'm always in a position to keep evolving and following guidance as I step into my high version. And that's what I'd like others who get drawn to me to do as well, if that's their wish as well.
That's beautiful.
Okay.
So we are near to the end of our interview. Now, looking in the future and globally, what do you wish to see in business creation and interactions, let's say 10 years from now? What is your idealistic vision?
For me, it's about everyone authentically being who they are and challenging the status quo. Status quo around this is how things are done. And because, I feel that we are all part of the jigsaw puzzle. No two people are the same. And so individually connecting with who we are more deeply to the core, aligning this back into our lives and into businesses if we're called to be in business, or into your profession if you're called to be employed. But it's about being authentically you, challenging the status quo, and knowing that everyone fits a puzzle in a specific way. And I talk about the ability for us to allow both our innate abilities and our learned skills to come together. That is my wish, that we are allowing people to tap into their innate skills, which is not written anywhere, which is not taught anywhere through our current educational system. But these are innate skills that people bring through with them because their souls have lived lives that has those skills already, and perhaps they are here to use those skills to serve the world at this time.
Good. Let it be.
Let it be.
That's a beautiful vision. That's a beautiful vision. And many people, I'm sure that many people are sharing a similar vision to yours, because we, as you said, we have come to a stage in our evolution and the energy has heightened. So I think we are kind of at the precipice of a very interesting evolutionary, yes. And we all kind of prepared already for years, waiting for it to happen. Right. So for the listeners, the starters up, the entrepreneurs, whoever listens to that, what would be your 3 wise tips?
The 3 wise tips. My first one would be relax and take a breath. That's the first one. Just relax and take a breath, because that informs the next stage. It doesn't matter how high you want to go, how fast you want to go. It begins with you taking time to be in the present moment, taking that breath, and then it kind of energizes you to the next step. The second step is very connected to the vision that I shared with you in terms of be yourself. And I came across an anonymous post a while ago which said, be yourself, because guess what, everyone else is taken. And so be yourself and contribute your little jigsaw puzzle that is needed to fit this big puzzle that we all connected to and solving as part of our own world. And the final one is be in the energy of oneness. And for me, that energy of oneness says you are not as special as you think. You are not as different as you think. You are connected to everybody else.
Yeah.
And so it's about you recognizing your role in the oneness and knowing that even though you are unique and you have a special contribution to the world as part of the jigsaw puzzle, you are also part of the big picture. And so seeing the other person and going, I am you. And, I could learn something from you. And actually, you are also me. And so looking at what we do to the other person that recognizes the oneness is what makes our world a beautiful place.
That's fantastic. The more and more you and I talk, the more closer kind of our values and visions get, and it was fantastic. So, what is the best way for people to reach you?
You can reach me at my website, so Meris Consult Limited, so merisconsult.com. We do have that already. So MERES consult.com. You will have the option to either say if you want to explore more of our business growth services or personal growth services. If you want deeper work, more like the Akashic Records work, then the best place to get hold of me would be maggiesarfo.com/personal growth. So maggiesarfo.com/personal growth. And that's where I talk more about the deeper work around the Akashic Records and kind of the healing, the Create Balance healing programs and all of that. You will find some on Meris Consult, but the deeper work, like the blogs around collective consciousness and all of that, is in that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, Maggie, I know you're very busy. And thank you. I just want to thank you for this wonderful conversation we had. We will be sharing this on YouTube, on my YouTube, and you will be sharing hopefully on your through your network. But I just want to say it's fantastic. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Antonina. I've really enjoyed every bit of this moment. I just wish I could stay even longer and bathe with the energy of your tribe. And so thank you so much for the opportunity. It's always an honor to chat with you. And I want to say thank you to all your audience for listening. And again, yes, do get in touch if you have any questions at all about anything we've discussed today. Thank you, Antonina.
You're welcome. Did you listen, everyone? Get in contact, get in touch. Okay, bye, everyone. And thank you for listening to Empowering the Conscious Evolution today with Maggie Sarfo. Okay, bye.
Bye.
And that was your inspiration to continue empowering your conscious business evolution today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope our conversations will help you take your own steps toward innovating and evolving as a conscious business by making choices for the benefit of people, communities, and environment. If you have any questions to my guests, I will leave their contact details in the description of this post. If you'd like to come to the show and share your wisdom, you're more than welcome. Please write to me to Antonina@visionsinspire.com. But definitely have a listen to all previous interviews and do subscribe to the Visions Inspire YouTube channel for my next show for more inspiration on being part of our conscious business evolution together. Please give Visions Inspire your like on Facebook and follow on Twitter and Instagram. And do share with others to listen, spread the word, grow the knowledge. That's the spirit of the conscious business evolution. Till next time, from me, Antonina Manev, your business growth strategist, turning visions into profitable businesses, and always here to empower the conscious business evolution. Thank you, and till next time.